Hi, welcome to another episode of Suddenly Single. Today I've got with me one of the UK's most foremost journalists, especially on the Daily Mail. She is also a former spin doctor for William Hague and known as Mandy from Apple Creek, Australia, in her spare time.
I just wanna get out of here.
Just a quick one. Thank you to all of you who are watching us. We're growing. We're out every Tuesday for those of you who've recently joined us. We would like you to keep commenting and keep watching. And it would really help us if you could click the subscribe button and make sure you don't miss another episode. Now back to the show. So, Amanda, can we start with something? 10 years ago, roughly, you wrote a story that really made me laugh because it's exactly what I'm like. My car crash love life, and why I will never forget one single minute of it.
Well, Sib, I'm going to call you Sib because we've known each other since like the 90s, okay?
We have.
So we have a real connection here. I've had my heart broken.
We both.
But I've also broken a lot of hearts.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster. But I have this kind of thing in life. You see so many people who go through a really rotten relationship and then they become completely bitter and they think, oh God, I can't ever watch a movie that's set in New York because that's where he used to take me and all this kind of thing. And I think that that's like a negation of your life. I think it's really important to realize that I had a fantastically happy marriage. You know, I got married when I was 85. No, in 84.
84.
I got married then, and it was really blissful for a really long time until he started having sex with somebody else and had an affair. But
Which happened to us all, Amanda.
I know, but when you look back, you can either look back in anger, and this is me not trying to get tickets for the Oasis concert. If you can either look back in anger and try and negate all that time of your life, or you can look back and think, actually, we backpacked across the world together. You know, It was absolutely wonderful. We arrived in London. It was so exciting. So you have to make an active choice, though, to be bitter and angry or to think of the good times.
You have written a couple of features that have made me laugh about the Je ne regrette rien, about the good times and the bad times. You went on a... the one that made me laugh more, actually, because I've missed more red flags than you can imagine, and you know what some of them are. You dated a guy that turned out to be married, and you wrote a feature about it. It's quite recently, and said, "How did I miss the 10 red flags?" What
Jesus.
were the red flags? Tell us about him. Because
Oh, Lord alive. Well, of course, the story is I've broken up with my wife, and
it's always that.
I've broken up with my wife. She doesn't understand me, all the usual stuff, and I'm now living in an apartment. Oh, well, I'm actually staying with friends, right? And so I said, well, that's great. I can come around and meet them. And he said, and there's always constant reasons for why we couldn't meet up. But, you know, he was coming over to my house and sleeping over and, you know, making all the promises and everything. And then I'm not a stupid woman, right?
I know you're not a stupid
and
woman.
I'm a very
You're
well
an amazing
connected,
journalist.
and I'm a very well connected. That's one thing I want to come back to, okay? Because I think that the conversation we had at the start is what's stopping me from finding love. Thank you,
I
Sib.
agree. We are alpha females, and that does not go down well with men of our age. It does not.
If you'd said this is Mandy from Apple Creek, she writes a bit.
Yeah.
Men would like me more.
I'm telling you, I'm now dating a much younger man. Works way better. He couldn't care less.
So we have all the red flags coming up. Although he's staying at my place a lot, and you know, sex is great. It's all feels like a really loving thing. And then one night, when we were in bed together, I noticed that he had a bite on his tummy. I've got a very big mouth. This was a very small mouth bite. And I thought, I think that's a red flag.
I've never seen a bite there.
Yeah. Well, it's when they're progressing, you know. It was a bite, not a love bite.
On the way down.
Look, we don't need to go into it. Okay. And at that point, I've got a very good friend who runs an intelligence service, and I phoned him up and I said, I want a private investigator on him.
You clever women do this. Liz Jones has done
I just
this.
thought this is the simplest thing to do because I can't be tracking around. He would never invite me to his new place. And it turns out he was living there with somebody else who was pregnant.
God.
And the hardest thing,
What's
my
wrong with
advice,
men?
okay, I'm talking straight down here now. My advice to anyone who gets a private investigator to find out what their partner is really up to, do not look at the pictures because they will never leave your brain unless you put a lot of effort into it. Suddenly I get this file sent to me. This is where they're really living. This is who she is. This is everything.
But that is a bright...
And pictures of them in the restaurant that we used to go to, pictures of them walking down the street holding hands. You do not want to see that. So that's my best girl advice for this whole podcast, okay?
Okay,
don't look at the pictures
but do
when you've
get
hired a
the
private
detective.
investigator to do it. It's worth every penny.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, was it just your gut instinct that something was wrong? Or was it... well, obviously, if you're saying you can't see it at the weekend, that's not great.
See, but I think one of the things is, and I see this as a pattern throughout my entire life, is that I've always worked really hard. I come from a very, very working class background. You know, we know that, you know, my parents instilled in me that you have to earn your own money because you can't rely upon anybody else. Yes. So that's always been, so I've worked very hard. And what I realise with retrospect is that I worked too hard. And in fact, my husband, John, and I have had we've had some conversations or emails. He now lives in Canada and happily married out there. Was that, you know, we arrived in London. I got a great job straight away. I was earning huge money. He got a lesser job, was earning not much money. I'd come home at 10 o'clock at night and he'd be lying in a white dressing gown with beer stains on it and cans on the floor saying, "Where's dinner?" Okay, so all of it, but I didn't really see it. That was probably the first cry for help, was him. And the thing that I've said to him is, it wasn't all your fault that our marriage broke up.
Do you know, that's something you learn when you get older. And I will say now, there was one relationship, you know which one it was, that I was particularly cross about. And now, 8 years on, I would say you have to accept your own side of the responsibility for what went wrong. That people don't go looking for something else if they're happy.
I agree. And I totally agree. I was so wrapped up in this, just suddenly having this new world. And as you know, Sip, you know, it was a tough world to be in.
Yeah.
And to be successful then, you know, we couldn't turn our heads. Our shoulder pads were so high. I mean, it was just completely fabulous and exciting.
It was party central. It was an amazing time.
And, you know, the amount, you know, we won't go into the drinking side. But I do... There's a bit of that. But I do look back and I think, and I've said to John, I stopped seeing you. I stopped seeing you as the man I saw when I walked into that pub in Sydney all those years ago. This gorgeous, adorable guy. And why did it never occur to me that he would just be prepared to pay second fiddle to my life when he could get any woman he wanted? And he did.
I think for women of our age, what possibly went wrong back then, I mean, I walked away from my marriage very quickly.
How quickly?
I asked for a divorce after a year and a half. We didn't actually divorce for 5 because he didn't want it, but we weren't together. Yeah. And I think partly, as you say, we earned too much. It was too easy. We were the first generation of women that could walk away. My mother didn't have a job. You know, they had to put up with things that we would just say no. And when I look back now, I think there were 2 problems. One, you probably walked away from quite nice men. And secondly, alpha men, which we were surrounded by, and found exciting because they were, you know, they were big earners, they were fun guys to be around, they took you to places that you could never imagine being in. But ultimately, they don't like alpha females. They like women that think they're amazing and aren't competing with them. And I don't know, that's just my take on it. You may completely disagree, but I wonder now, I mean, I told you before we started this, I'm dating someone younger.
How much younger, may I ask?
No, he's actually
It can be edited.
He's not that much younger. He's only 6 years younger, but the mindset is different. It's different, and he's a quieter person, and he doesn't have that. I don't know why he is successful, but he doesn't have that alpha mentality, and he's quite happy for me to run around being bonkers and, you know, saying I'm late, and he cooks the dinner and all of that kind of stuff, and
Cooks
it works.
Dinner.
He does cook dinner.
Crikey, I've
man who
never had
cooks
a
dinner,
man
I tell you.
cook a dinner for me in my entire life.
But do you know what? It works both ways, because I said that to him. I've never had a man who's had my dinner ready. This is amazing. And he said, I've never had a woman buy me dinner. So it works both ways.
Yeah.
It does.
I just think that the whole thing, going back to John, is that we were both culpable in that breakdown. And the thing that I do realise now is that one of the skill sets that women of our generation were not equipped with was actually sitting down and talking about things.
Yeah.
Okay, we had no, because I came from, when my parents died, bizarrely together within minutes of each other, not car crash or anything. Yeah. They'd been together for 70 years, so I had this role model of an adoring couple. Dad would steal roses from the gardens as he walked down from the bus every evening to give to Mum when he came home. So I think I had an acceptance that once you were married that your husband would just love you. I didn't see how much Mum put into that.
I was going to ask you about your parents, because they were married for 70 years.
Yeah.
And something that made me quite tearful, actually, so I hope it's not going to upset you. Your mum got dementia, which my mother has, and the last words that she used were my husband. And I just think that connection and that amazing example of what a marriage is. I think if you have parents with a good marriage, you expect that just to follow suit.
You kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
And yes, that is what happened. Mum had to go into a care home, and then Dad missed her so much that he went in too. And then Dad had a fall, and the nurse came and checked on them at midnight on a Saturday night, and they were lying in bed together holding hands, as they always did, or they kind of spooned. Dad always spooned round Mum, because Mum was little and Dad was very tall. So they're in bed spooning, and she came back and checked them 10 minutes later, and they were both dead.
I mean, it's spectacular.
No heart attack, no cancer, no stroke, nothing. It is just, and if
one didn't want to live without the other.
They could not have lived without the other.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of a hell of a role model.
It's a difficult role model when you see that, because you think, meanwhile, you and I over here car crashing it around Britain, drinking, partying, meeting loads of different guys. But I wonder if that did make it harder for you, expecting to have that every time, to find that person that was that perfect man for you.
And both my brothers followed Mum and Dad's pattern.
Harder.
Yeah. Sadly, my older brother died when he was 41. But he was absolutely devoted to his wife. My surviving brother, they've got the most fantastic relationship. And I sometimes just look at them and I think, why didn't I get that right? But I think a lot of it's sort of born of this thing that we didn't communicate. We didn't sit down. If I'd sat down with John and said, look, sweetie, this is really going south. How can we make it better?
Yeah.
How can we kind of work on this? What can I do? What can you do? But we didn't. We just used to cut and run.
Yeah.
I can remember saying to him...
Cut and run. That's exactly what we did.
Cut and run.
Every time.
And I said, why don't you go and stay? He had a best friend who lived in Florida. I said, why don't you go and stay with your mate? And just because you can talk to him honestly, and we can try and sort things out and all the rest of it. So he left for his plane at 8 o'clock that particular night, and at 8:30 I had the locksmiths in. Who does that? Who does that?
I think women from the 90s.
You just think it's just...
Yeah, for sure.
But actually, if I'd sat down and tried to... I I don't wish now that I was with him. I don't harbour those thoughts, but I do recognise and take responsibility for my own actions in relationships failing.
Yeah, no, I do too. And I think like, we're both got older and we're both still trying to work it out. I mean,
Well, you sound like you've got it worked out.
Well, no,
You've got
I've met a really
young,
nice
hot
guy, but I haven't known him that long. Time will tell. But I met him on a dating app, which you have also tried. Now, can we talk about the Tinder Swindler, please, Amanda Platell? Another awful example of dating apps.
He was gorgeous. He was Egyptian. He was unlike any Englishman. He was effusive. You know, he showered me with compliments. He showered me with gifts. One day when we were going out for lunch, he said, I've got to go and buy some, I've got to go and pick up some shoes at Prada or somewhere like that. And he said, just come in with me. And then he picked these trainers off the shelf and said, why don't you just try them on? And I tried them on. They were Gucci. What is the most crass, horrible, blingy label in the whole world? Anyway, so I'm sitting there.
I would have said yes. Just
so I tried them
to buy
on,
any more.
and then before I knew it, they'd thrown my shoes in the bin, and he'd paid 600 quid for these trainers, right? I felt like I was Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman.
Oh,
you know, the bit when she goes down to all the shops?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, he was just adorable. Bizarrely, he never wanted to have sex with me. He said, we're going to wait until we get married.
Oh.
Right? But he was just a doll. He was just so enthusiastic and unlike, sort of English men. And I did check him out. Okay, I'm not stupid. Remember, I've got the friend who's got the connections, right?
Yes, yeah.
Checked him out. He was an Egyptian minerals trader. Mm-hmm. So he spent a lot of time between here
it's a diamond company, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I think it was rare minerals.
Okay.
The very exciting bit of the story. And so, but he used to say, oh, darling, I've got to go to work. I miss you so much. And he'd disappear for 2 months. And then he would, he'd be messaging, but then not physically there. Then he'd reappear. And this pattern sort of went on for a while. I thought, right, this is just... And then, of course, after a while, he said, I've got this fantastic business deal that I would love. You could make so much money. You could move out of this cottage that you've got on Hampstead Heath into a beautiful home. And he actually sent me a picture of our home that we're going to live in, which one of my astute girlfriends pointed out was a show home. Not a single picture of anything in it that was personal. So all of these kind of things were coming in. And then I just said to him, look, this is just ridiculous. I don't want to hear from you ever again. I'm on holiday with my friends in the south of France. He phones and he says, darling, I've missed you so much. I realise I want you to meet my family. I want you to come out to Egypt. I'm sending you a first-class ticket. And he said, all you have to send me is your passport details.
You didn't know your job, right?
No, I fell for it.
Did you send him the passport details?
Yeah, I sent him a photo of my passport. So there's someone walking around the world called Amanda Platell, who is not me.
Oh, fuck.
I think we should edit that bit out because it makes me look really stupid.
No, it doesn't. But did he ask you for money?
He wanted me to invest in this project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you didn't do it?
No.
No, too much like the Netflix film, which you'd already watched.
We Patells, we know how hard it is to earn money. You don't squander money. You don't risk it. And I think that's when he kind of lost interest because he thought, because obviously I had a very good job and I had a very good income and I had a very nice house and a very nice car. But Sip, that's one of the things, if we can go back to the beginning, where you introduced me as this person who's done all these things. That's the reason I'm single, because people, so for instance, I've got this lovely, really hot Jamaican window cleaner. He's in his 40s, so we're not looking at a love interest here. But
well, Carol McGiffin will disagree with you. She is married to the lovely 41-year-old Mark for about 15 years now.
Okay, well, we're not there. He and I are just friends, but he would say to me, we would sit down over a cup of coffee, and he'd say, why are you single? He said, you're a really nice person. and you're really fun, and so we chat, and he said, I've got this uncle who is single, runs his own very successful plumbing business,
Right.
and I think that he would really, really like you. He's divorced, he's got grown-up kids. I have no baggage, I have no children, sadly, despite years of trying. So I'm like, solvent, got a good job, got no kids, you know, I'm kind of baggage free.
Yeah.
And I thought this, and you know, that terrible thing, because he was telling me all these things about him, where your hope starts to rise.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I'd never have to order a plumber again. He looks, from his picture, he looks just lovely. Just looks like Ray's older brother. And then I was waiting, so I gave him all my details. I was waiting for him to call me. The phone didn't answer. Didn't ring. And I phoned Ray up and said, is this guy ever going to call me? And he said, I'm really sorry, but he Googled you.
What, he was put off by the fact you were a journalist?
No, the fact that I had this profile. And if I have to say, I've never Googled myself, but other friends have done it on my behalf. And a lot of it, you know, work for the Tory party, really mean journalist, you know, run businesses.
Honest journalist. Honest journalist.
Oh, thank you. But, you know, it's a lot to kind of take in. None of them ever see Mandy from Apple Creek.
Oh, that's a real shame if you're watching us. That is a real shame. But I suppose it is a hard thing to take on. Maybe he's worried that you would write about him. Because
no, I have a 10-year guarantee. I never write about anyone until 10 years after I've slept with them.
10 years? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's inappropriate. Because it's got to be a private space.
Okay.
And, you know, my lovely cottage is a really wonderful place. It's, you know, that's private. No,
Would you go back on a dating app?
Look, when I went on the dating app, because I had to, you know, it's hard if I put a picture of myself up, like one of the pictures from the paper or something, people identify me. So my picture was me in a stripy top with jeans, leaning up against an old, muddy Defender, right? So you couldn't actually see who I was. And the problems, because I just thought that people would be less likely to want to contact me if they knew who I was. And I just said that I was Amanda, a writer. But then it all kind of felt, you know, like, do you want me to tell you an example?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was this guy who looked really lovely. He said he was 6 foot tall, Harvard business graduate who ran his own food empire, divorced from his wife, looking to find that special person. And, you know, we chatted and it was all really good. And then we arranged to meet up. And it turned out that he was still living with his wife and the mother-in-law while he was getting his business set up. B, his food empire, it was a cafe. Okay, and I did say to him, look, I think you haven't really been honest about what you said on the thing. He said, well, you haven't been honest either because I've Googled you and you lied about your age. And I said, only 2 years. I said, I didn't lie that I was a food entrepreneur. And I said, you said you were 6 foot. I'm 5'7". You're shorter than me, and so.
The thing is, I have done now probably 11 internet dates. Only 2 would I ever have seen again. But they're funny stories to tell, even just to your girlfriends. They are.
Bit disappointing though.
Well,
you know,
it is,
you go
but,
out
you know,
because you think, you know, this guy sounds really, really nice, and then of course, you know, I met my Tinder swindler who just seemed perfect. And, you know, only 3 months ago he phoned me again.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay. And?
I gave him my passport details, of course, because they're updated. I said...
Oh, bless you.
I did not. I'm joking.
You did have one more love of your life, though, didn't you?
Yeah, but with him, I just said, just don't ever call me again.
We haven't talked about Christopher, have we?
Oh... Christopher was one of the most... He's probably... And, you know, we've already got John, the husband, is a pretty high bar. He was probably the most beautiful man I ever met.
Yeah.
And it was a strange situation whereby I was living, I was divorced by then, and I was living in a little council flat in Camden, and I walked out of my flat one morning, and there was this guy standing there covered in dust with workers' boots on, just standing up against the wall. And I looked at him, and he looked at me. I was then the deputy editor for a national newspaper, right? And I got into my car and I went in and I said to my one of my colleagues, I said, I've just met a man I'm going to have the most passionate affair with. And he said, what's his name? And I said, I don't know yet. But it was like lightning bolts across the road. I thought he was a brickie. He thought I was a secretary.
But that's great. And I think, you know what, inside you don't change. I was dating someone before I met this guy, and this is honest truth. I kept thinking, what is wrong with you? He has a really nice house in London. He isn't unattractive. He's quite public school, arrogant, that everything. And that's not said in a negative way, because that is my type.
I don't have a type.
Grow up. Why not him? You know, you're getting older. And then along comes Mr. Butterflies, for me anyway. And
it wasn't
we're
butterflies.
Always looking for that.
It was
We're
lightning strikes. And we were together for about 7 years. And he was beautiful. He was kind. He didn't get fazed about what I did. And what I didn't do was when things started to go a bit awry, I didn't sit down and talk with him. That would be my advice to any woman out there who's in a troubled relationship. Sit down and talk with them and spend time doing that, because I still dream about Christopher.
Oh.
I still dream about him, yeah. And he is a really great guy. We still talk on the phone, and I just think, how could I have been so dumb? How could I have
the arrogance of youth, isn't it? You think there's a million great men out there, but there really aren't.
I didn't think that. I thought he was the millionth greatest guy. But I didn't show it to him. All those things we talked about before.
But you know what? Hope springs eternal. So we're going to bring in a friend of mine now to be our expert today. You know him, actually. You've met him before as well.
Jeez, it's not one of my exes, is it?
No. Not today. I couldn't get one. I tried several. I've just brought in a really good friend of mine and of Amanda's. You've met before, haven't you?
Of course we have.
Carl Stanley, who is a makeup artist. And the reason I've asked Carl to join us this week, not a psychologist, is because I want to ask you a couple of questions that apply to both me and Amanda. Do you think you should change your look when you get older, when you're doing your makeup? Is that one of the big mistakes, do you think?
Well, no, not if it works for you. I mean, my mother, for example, who's 83, every morning she gets ready, hair, makeup every day. She's always done that
girl.
Ever since I can remember.
I can't leave the house without mascara.
Yeah, and she loves green eyeshadow. Now, anyone would say green eyeshadow.
I would say that puts you in a certain decade.
Exactly. But any time I've done her makeup, I sort of like try and veer her away from the bright green.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it completely it suits her. It's her personality and it's her character.
Yeah. I used to always wear red lipstick because
Exactly.
I've got a big mouth. I used to always wear completely red lipstick. I don't anymore because I think it's a little bit aging. People used to say that my lips used to enter the room half an hour before I did. And I would not
Do you remember your red lips coming in first?
I look, red lips, red jackets. I wouldn't go anywhere without my red lipstick. But also I've kind of toned that down, and also I've changed my hair colour, and I've got the fringe, which actually is God's gift because it covers all the skin damage on your
Exactly,
forehead.
saves on Botox. Do you know what I mean? It really does. Get a fringe, everyone. Don't bother with Botox.
What's Botox?
Oh.
We'll get to that one in a minute.
No, but also I think, the red lipstick thing as well, because I was listening to you talking earlier, and I think when you came here and you got your job and you started out in journalism, and I mean, it was so cut and thrust then
And
as
it was
well.
the 80s,
and it was the
you know.
80s, and it was the look, but
The
also,
90s,
it was armour really,
That
in a
is
way.
exact-
Makeup was armour
That is exactly-
in those days.
that is
It's
exactly
like you
what it
watch
was.
Dynasty, isn't it? It was
Yeah.
armour. And
Yeah.
now it's not about armour, it's just to make you feel better about
also
yourself and
little
about
s-
confidence.
Little subtle things like brown mascara rather than black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's softer on your... I think you told me that. You know, that's softer on your eyes, softer hair colour. And there are some nights when I'm going out when I put my red lipstick on and I look at myself and I think, you look like Joan Collins, which is a great compliment.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite 90 yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's too harsh on my
Yeah,
face.
yeah. I mean, she's old enough to be your mother, and I absolutely adore Joan Collins.
too.
Do you
I
know what I
love her
mean?
to
So I'm not
pieces.
bad mouthing her at all.
No, I love her to
And
pieces.
you know, it's
She can carry it because
Completely.
she's a superstar.
Yeah.
When you're a 67-year-old sad, lonely woman living alone in a house with a cat, you can't carry it.
this is just the point to say, anyone out
Send
there
in your
who's
brothers.
watching, Amanda Platell is an absolute pussycat. So if you're looking at her thinking, this is the woman of my dreams, but I've done a Google search about her and not sure, don't believe everything you read online, because she's a complete pussycat. She just doesn't suffer fools gladly. Do you know what I mean? That's all. And just treat her like a princess, you know, because she deserves that a little bit. But, you know, just she's a great one.
I am going to ask you both to answer some questions. Now, Amanda, this is called the Suddenly Single Honesty Box.
Okay.
And we're not going to leave you hanging. Carl and I have to answer a question too. But as our guest, you pick the first. Carl, you can have the second.
Great.
And look at her face. Do you not like that question, Miss Platell?
Oh my God.
Listen, I came here telling you I'd be completely honest, and I intend to be.
Yes.
Plastic fantastic, yes or no? I'm assuming this is alluding to facial surgery.
Yes.
Okay, I once did a show with Piers Morgan where he said to me, Amanda, you look great for your age. You have ever had anything done? I said, how much time have you got?
Okay.
I said, I've had the lunchtime facelift. I've had the vampire facelift. I've had every single bit of treatment. I've been having treatment on my face for more than 20 years. I've never had a facelift. The only surgery I've had is where I had cancer in my lower eyelid and they had to do reconstructive surgery there.
Okay.
So one eye has had that done. I've never had a facelift. I hope I never will. But I will try anything.
I've had
And-
a facelift.
Have you really?
Yeah, I did. It's coming up for 10 years now, and I am seriously thinking of having another one.
I'm just kind of hoping, Sib, that there'll be a bloke out there or the sister of a bloke who will see me and think, you know, she doesn't need a paper bag over her head to have sex. You know,
No, you
I
don't
could be
need
going
one.
there.
You are
I could be going there.
gorgeous. Yeah.
I'm still, of course, I still have my. I love the expression tweakments. You know, like it's just like.
Tweakments. Yeah, I have a lot of Botox. I've never had fillers, and I've never had my lips because I've never
No, I don't
known
do my
anyone
lips.
who
No.
looks
You
good
don't
with
need
lips.
it.
I
No,
don't think
but the
that works.
barcode works.
Yeah.
The barcode definitely works. But yeah, I've got fat lips.
What's yours?
Mine says, and I've never had surgery. I did have Botox twice. I was going to have it a third time, and I
You're a
just thought, do you know
baby.
what?
Botox
Pointless.
baby.
Can't be bothered. So, the one, you know, guys can get away with it a little bit more, which is one of the injustices of
Yeah.
of men versus women as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, women feel that they've so much more got to compete with eternal youth and
Wait
all
until
of
you're
that
my
stuff.
age and you might reconsider.
All right.
But the key, I think, is having little bits done often.
Yeah.
Yes. I go quite regularly. I go every time I frown and.
So my question is, ever had a one night stand? Now,
Oh.
as a gay man who's 57 nearly and who started going out when he was 14, I've had one or two one night stands, and I would say quite a few of them ended up staying for about 2 years when they really shouldn't have done. Do you know what I mean? I wish that a few of them had actually been one night stands. They should have stayed as one night stands. Is that a rude question to ask a lady, Amanda Platell? Have you ever had a one night stand?
Okay. when I first arrived, I was brought up a Catholic, right?
I
Even
am.
though Mum pretended that we weren't Catholics because Catholics weren't liked in Australia at the time. I was brought up a Catholic in a really kind of strict moral code. So I was, you know, I was quite kind of innocent about things. But when I got transferred to Sydney to the bureau, I thought, right, one thing I've never done that's never had a one night stand. Quite a hot guy in the office. We went out, all going really, really well. Things didn't function for him, and he said, "Oh my God, you are my experiment." I thought, if I can't maintain my performance with you, then I'm lost for life. I then walked home 3 miles from his house to back to my place in Sydney. Then I met John, my husband, and I thought, I know I've not told him this, but I actually just saw him as my one night stand. I was determined. To have a one night stand.
Yeah.
So we went out this night, and then we were kissing in the street, and I said, you know, come on, let's just, well, you know, as you do, let's, you know, come on, let's go inside and do it. And I remember him hugging me in the moonlight and saying, "You're so special to me. I don't want to do that."
Wow. So technically, he was a one night stand,
He-
but it ended
but I
up
ended
being
up
more.
marrying him.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely. So you still got to tick that off at some point.
I really think at 67 I've got over wanting to have a one night stand.
All right.
But I tried twice.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I tried twice and had the same experience as both of you. Saw both of them, one for far too long, because they didn't leave it. But in my head that night was, I'm just going to risk it. I'd like a one night stand. I've never had a one night stand. It needs to be ticked off my bucket list. But it never happened.
Funnily enough,
'Cause they rang.
I can remember a couple of one night stands. I can remember more about them than I can remember people I've actually had long term relationships.
It's
with.
funny that,
what
isn't
does
it?
that say? Do you know
But
what I mean?
then you think,
how odd.
this
Exciting.
is an interesting question, because the notion of a one night stand is it's something very casual, where you never see the bloke again, where you wake up in the morning thinking, what the hell have I done? Where you're feeling rotten about yourself, where you're feeling terrible. Well, that's what you get at the end of a bad relationship.
Completely.
Yes,
Completely.
That's true. It's just speed it
Completely.
up.
Completely.
I know what
It's
you're
it's just condensed into one night. That's all. Do you know what I mean? And and
Yeah.
sometimes it can be a really wonderful experience that, I don't know, a bit of self-affirmation sometimes, nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? Makes you feel attractive. It can be a positive as well as being a bit desperate. So there you go. Siobhan, what's your question?
I think mine, I mean, clearly not Tinder, Amanda, but would you still use a dating app?
Look, I am prepared to try anything at the moment, okay?
Okay.
As one of my friends said to me, the chances of the AA guy coming to fix your car being a totally age-appropriate single hunk who falls in love with you on sight is unlikely. So my first foray out into, I said, right, go to a pub, go to a quiz night. So,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So meet different people.
Yeah.
I go there. We're sort of halfway through the evening, and I say to my friend who is gay, he said, "You realise that we've come to a completely gay quiz night?" And I said, "No, I thought that guy was looking at me over there." He said he was looking at me. And I'm thinking, okay, that's just my luck. I go out and I try new things. I end up in the only gay pub quiz night in the whole of North London. But I'm not giving up. I'm thinking of joining a cycling group, although I have very bad balance and I fall off. Okay. I did join a drawing group, but then they wanted us to take all of our clothes off, which I thought was a bit weird, drawing
I
each
think
other.
that is weird.
Yeah, I didn't want that. So
No.
I'm still...
No.
All I can say, Seb, is that I have not given up hope.
Do you know what? There are art classes in Hertfordshire called Paint and Sip, where you can drink your wine while you're doing your painting, and they don't
But
ask
can
you
you
to
keep
take
your
your
clothes
Yes,
on?
your clothes are kept on. I know a man who runs those classes, so there's always Paint and Sip.
This sounds really dirty to me, Paint.
Or
Is that your best advice?
No,
I've come here,
try
spent my
not to.
morning with you, and that's the best advice you can give me.
No,
That
I'm
was
going to
not
think
the
on
deal.
this, because I think Amanda Platell, you deserve another chance. Hope springs eternal. There's somebody perfect out there.
Well,
for you.
and also, you know, I mentioned my mother before. She's 83 years old. She's been with her boyfriend for 8 years and they met online.
You see,
You know,
I'm not
and
discounting
he
this online.
treats her like an absolute
really
queen.
not.
He's solvent, lives 30 miles away, so they only see each other
quite
once
nice. They
a
don't live in your
week.
house, yeah.
Exactly. So none of that
Clip their
stuff. She's
toenails,
made
that
it
kind of
clear.
stuff.
No marriage.
Clip
He
your
treats her-
toenails on
so
nights I'm not
don't,
seeing you.
Don't give up hope.
I'm not giving up. And I have to say that today has rather cheered me up.
Oh, I'm so
and made
pleased.
me feel that there is some hope.
There is hope. Hope springs eternal. So I really, really thank you for coming in to Suddenly Single, Amanda Platell.
Come and I'm